time we're talking about storage, not storage containers. We're talking about home battery storage. And some of this will apply to commercial and utility scale situations as well. But this is going to be one of the most important components of the next 10 to 15 years and like of the 2020s regarding energy. So stay posted because this will dictate how we get energy, especially here in Southern California. So we're going to talk about residential storage today and the couple different configurations, how you size the system appropriately, and ultimately how you can make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck regarding the power situation. So right now, in residential storage, we have two different configurations. There's going to be grid tied and backup. So these are actually two different types of batteries. Grid tied allows you to do a non-backup configuration and save the most amount of money. And backup will allow you to, back up your home. So this will have blackout protection. Now, what this looks like for your home with solar is going to change a lot depending on your configuration, of course. So I'm gonna draw a little home here. We're gonna see, this is Jimmy's home. So his home has solar on top of it. Look at that beautiful little solar panel situation. So got the home with solar, and we're gonna talk about the situation where we have a non-backup battery or a grid-tied battery here. So this is gonna be G battery. And so the G battery is going to be able to draw from power at the nighttime. So what that means is you'll still be able to power your home when the sun goes down. You're gonna actually store power in that battery, and the only trade-off is that when this grid, so we're gonna draw the little grid here. I don't draw the best grids, I'll be honest. This is a terrible grid, but you get the point. So when the grid goes down, we're actually gonna sever this connection completely, and this is also gonna be severed as well. So there's no backup switch or backup loads, and that's where we have the backup configuration. So we're gonna call this the B battery. So the B battery actually has another little device that allows us when the grid goes down, again, beautiful grid here. They said, wow, what a beautiful grid. Not a beautiful grid. When this grid goes down, we're actually able to sever that connection and still run the home. And so these are the two different configurations. Again, this is gonna be a cheaper option for most homeowners. You'll save a bit more money on the overall system investment. This one's gonna have more robustness. Now, these days we're moving away from grid tied a lot more towards full home backup regardless. Because in the last year, Tesla has come up with what's called the backup switch. In the past, you used to add a bunch of sub panels and all this extra stuff and smart switches and yada yada and all this extra equipment that added a lot of cost onto every single system. Now, Tesla, regardless of what you feel about them, they were smart and they came out with this thing where we can plug it right behind the meter. If the grid goes down, we just have full home backup regardless. And Enphase has recently adapted it too. And I'm sure a couple other battery solutions are going to come out that also incorporate the backup switch where there is really no grid tied situation. You're just fully backed up every single time. Now, this is where we get into the nuances of capacity versus power, which is really important when choosing a solar solution for your home. So right here, we're gonna have capacity. So that's the Mr. Kappa City. And then we're gonna have power. Mr. Pow, ER. So capacity and power are two really important variables when doing batteries because capacity is the amount that your system can store in terms of kilowatt hours. So right now, the most common battery is a Tesla Powerwall 3. This thing has 13.5 kilowatt hours of battery storage. Now that doesn't mean 13.5 total usable hours, it's actually closer to 13. But let's say you use 20 kilowatt hours a night, you're gonna drain this thing every single night. If you use 10, this would be golden. And it has 11 kilowatts of power. Again, this is a concept that I'm going to walk through a little bit more, but the difference between these two is really important because capacity tells you how long you can use a battery for. It's like a bucket, right? You have a bucket that is just filled with energy, and this is your capacity. So that tells you exactly how much you have left, and as you drain that battery on your app, you'll see how much capacity you have left to run your home. And then power is actually how fast you can drain. Look, my drainage is as good as my grids. So this is how fast power or energy can flow from the battery. 11 kilowatts is amazing. Fridge uses about 400 watts or 0.4 watts. AC uses anywhere from 4 to 5 kilowatts. A jacuzzi uses, about 2 to 3. And then we have, lights and all that stuff. So this can run most of a home, typical home. It's gonna struggle if you're doing AC and pool pumps and electric car charging, but it can be pretty usable for most stuff. Now, as we size up how many appliances we have in the home, we'll probably want more power because if we think about this as like a flow, we're limited on how big that hole is in the bucket. And so as soon as we exceed that draw through the bucket, we're gonna have to pull power from somewhere. And guess where that's gonna come from? It's gonna be the good old grid. So regardless of daytime or nighttime, if you pull more than 11 kilowatts on a Tesla Powerwall, so you pull 12, that 1 extra kilowatt is gonna come from Mr. Grid over here. And they're gonna charge you for that cost. So we have to be very considerate of how much power you're pulling at once. And then in addition, if you have a blackout, and so there is no grid, and you pull 12 kilowatts, your battery is gonna be like, sorry, bud, you're done. Like, you're not using any more power, and it's gonna start shutting stuff off. So we wanna be very cognizant of how much power we're pulling. And if we're pulling 11 kilowatts at a time, and the battery is 13.5 kilowatt hours, over the course of an hour of running all of this stuff, we're gonna drain this battery in about 1.2 hours because we're gonna draw 11 kilowatt hours over the course of 1 hour. So this is gonna go down minus 11 over 1 hour. So we wanna be really cautious of how much power we're pulling, especially in the event of a blackout situation, because we wanna use this as long as possible. Now, when the sun comes back up, we can run the home again, we can charge the battery, but then nighttime, when there's a blackout, we wanna be super cautious of how much power we're pulling, even if we have a battery. Like, it can run a lot of stuff and it can run for a while, but it's gonna struggle because if we go below 0 on this 13.5, we have no power left. And the same thing applies to even when the grid is on. So if we use the entire battery, so we go below 13.5 kilowatt hours and this thing is exhausted, guess where the power has to come from? The grid. So if you're running your pool and your jacuzzi and you're running the electric vehicle and your AC and you're having a disco party and you drain this entire battery by midnight, and hopefully your disco party keeps going all night, then you're gonna then pull power from the grid for the rest of the night until the sun comes back up. And this is where sizing your battery and solar solution is really, really important. We wanna look at how much power you're using every single night currently, so we can tell that from what's called the green button data. And that's something we look at. We wanna know, for most people, they're working during the daytime and they come home at night and they use power from the grid at night. And so that's where the most of the power is coming from. But for people that work from home, you're using more power during the daytime, and so your nighttime usage isn't important. So sizing this to your needs is really important. If you're using 20 kilowatt hours every single night, one battery is not gonna be enough. If you're using 10, one battery will be fine. And then we look at different battery options and different configurations to fit your needs. So there's so many variables that go into this, and that's why having someone in your back corner to help size the system so you can get away from this grid, that beautiful little grid, as much as possible, is significant, especially in 2025 and going forward. And especially if we're using a lot of power at nighttime, what can we shift to daytime usage? Are you running your pool pump at night right now? Well, you probably, when you have solar, you want to run that during the daytime, so we save this capacity. We're not pulling from Mr. G over here. If you're charging your car at night, maybe you can shift that to the daytime. Run laundry in the daytime. Anything that we can shift and the solar is producing is going to maximize our savings when it comes to having a solar and storage solution. And also having someone in your back corner to design this right way It's going to be really important for the remaining future of the home that you have energy production and storage on your home. So that's why you should reach out to us with any more questions that you have or to get a proposal so we can maximize your capacity and power production on the home.